typically when you talk to guys, they'll talk about, when boys are comfortable and they want to talk to each other, they'll open up, boom. It's either ED, they can't get it up.
Right.
It's either they can get it up, but they come very quickly. And so stamina is the problem, or it's size. How do you address each of these for men?
Again, we're kind of back to, there's
they get a hammer and just hit their junk and say, hey, listen.
No.
Is it like
let's talk about erectile dysfunction.
Don't try that. I'm just asking before you guys. I'm worried about Humberto goes and says.
Let's talk about erectile dysfunction first. Yeah. So erectile dysfunction, we talked about this earlier in the podcast, directly linked to the absolute collapse of men's testosterone and metabolic health. So if you look at the 1920s pictures that we showed earlier in the podcast of New York, those men, our great-grandfathers, our grandfathers, had testosterone that was higher than ours, right? And across the board. So the average testosterone, give or take from what we can say today, 100 years ago for men in their 30s and 40s was probably in the 800s, 800 nanograms per deciliter. Today it's 400, 450. So we've just collapsed. And I think that in combination with our overall metabolic health, and this is the quality of the food we're eating, but also our toxic environment, which we can talk about. So we are swimming in an environment that is full of compounds, whether it's BPA, phthalates, PFAs, which are forever chemicals, or microplastics and pesticides, and the microplastics can carry all those chemicals into our body. These are endocrine disrupting chemicals. So we are not only eating poor quality food, we are not eating the nutrients needed to have healthy testicles, which produce testosterone in the Leydig cells and the Sertoli cells support that. We are also imbibing, putting on our skin, washing our hair, breathing in chemicals, drinking chemicals in cans, in plastic bottles, in plastic cups that are actively disrupting our ability to make these hormones. And then we are ending up with 30-year-olds and 40-year-old men who have erectile dysfunction. Now, then they go to the doctor. The doctor says, hey, your testosterone is 300. Here's testosterone. And to me, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with testosterone supplementation, but I think that we are failing to talk to these men about what could be causing this because you can correct it, right? So you think about how quickly men get testosterone prescriptions. I saw Jeremy Renner was on a podcast recently saying he's on TRT. His testosterone was 200 to 300. I think he's early 50s. More and
Hurt
more.
Locker, the actor.
Yeah, the guy he's in the Marvel movies.
Hurt Locker, the same guy I'm thinking about? Oh, yeah. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, and he said
he was at 200?
200 to 300, I think. Yeah. He was on Chris Williamson's podcast talking about peptides and TRT.
And what did he do to improve his?
Well, he just took TRT, And so for me, this is like, okay, the problem is if you go to a doctor, so I know that a lot of men listening to this might be 30s, 40s, 50s. If you go to your doctor and they say, hey, your testosterone is 300, 400, it should be 800, and there is a biological precedent. It's possible to be in your 40s or 50s and have testosterone in the 700s or 800s. My testosterone was 860. I don't take anything. I'm 48 years old. So and I've met many men who show this. There's nothing about being a man in your 40s, 50s, or even 60s that says your testosterone needs to fall off a cliff. But we go to the doctor, we say, hey, my testosterone's 300. They say, here's TRT. Did your doctor check your vitamin D level? Did your doctor check your zinc level? There's really good evidence that if your zinc level is less than maybe 80 milligrams per I think that's the units. It might be, I think it's micrograms per deciliter for the zinc. If your zinc level is less than 80, your testosterone could double just by zinc supplementation. So make sure you check your zinc level. And men could be supplementing with zinc. Zinc is, of course, found in a very bioavailable form in red meat, animal foods, which we are eating less of. Now, the thing with zinc, just to put as an asterisk here, is that you don't want to take zinc without copper long-term. So if you do 15 milligrams of zinc, you probably need at least 1 milligram of copper if you're going to take it long-term. But so many men could improve their testosterone levels by checking their zinc level and supplementing with a little bit of zinc. Be aware of copper. Hey guys, I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Manect if you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here. Stamina, is this also apply on stamina? Or?
I think that, stamina is probably an interesting thing. And it's like, I think that when you are...
Is it more here?
It's probably
stamina?
more in your brain, yeah.
Right.
And it's like, we'll get into a little sexual coaching. Guys, just go slow, breathe, you'll get it back. And I think that when you're sexually healthy, when your hormones are properly aligned, the stamina will come. Take your time, don't rush. Women are going to like it when you take your time with them. Nobody wants the rush, and so that's a whole different thing, but take your time, go slow.
It's called stop watching porn.
Yes.
Porn is...
Yes.
And one of the best clips I ever saw was Pamela Anderson coaching her son that porn is not really what women want in real life. And she said, you ever seen this interview with Pamela Anderson?
No.
It's a great clip. And I think her son is sitting right next to her while she's saying this. Yeah, it's the second one. We don't need to play it. I think it's a 5-minute clip. But she says, I would go out on dates and I would see guys were like just throwing me around and hitting me. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm not enjoying this. So I had to coach my sons that don't have sex like the way you do. In porn, it's a great clip for everybody to watch, but that's a different story. Okay, so that's more mindset. ED is diet, size.
We're kind of back to children, So parents, feed your boys animal foods. Getting them enough of these nutrients will allow for proper full development of the penis size. We know that as boys are entering puberty, DHT levels, so dihydrotestosterone levels, these are linked to how healthy the boy is in puberty. But who are some of the least healthy, like young men in the world? The ones entering puberty, they're eating Chipotle, they're eating McDonald's, they're eating Burger King. And so
some parents may say, Paul, I'm going to call you out on this one. So there's some size incompetent and they don't eat too well. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's not necessarily as a kid that some people are born with it, right? A part of it is just genetics and you're born with it.
Part of it is genetics. I think, micropenis is rare. And look, you can't change that.
There's a guy in Germany that dealt with that. He had a hard time with that. He wanted to kill everybody in the world. And apparently he was dealing with micropenis issues. I don't know if you're familiar with that guy. Very angry guy.
I can understand why. I can understand why. It's like... It's rough. But
what do you do with that though? What do you do with that?
Micropenis, you can't do much with micropenis, But like, I think that for young boys...
Just broke so many people's hearts right now. Let's pay very close attention to the retention of the podcast. You're running a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I want to see if it goes like this. Literally, the podcast just went limp right now.
But like, micropenis, we're talking like an inch, or two. Like, we're not talking... there are statistics on the average penis size across the world. And it's smaller than most men think, I saw this on X because, of course, I'm curious, like, what's the average penis size? How do I stack up, right? And, like the largest average penises in the world were 7 inches. A lot of average penis size across the world is 5-ish to 6 inches. So I think a lot of men might think that they are under-equipped because they are, again, watching porn and seeing male porn actors with very large penises. And we can get back to Pamela Anderson here. I think if you talk to women in a very candid way, women will tell you you don't need to have a 10-inch penis. You don't need to have a Coke bottle thick penis to please a woman. The vagina is very wide after the aperture. So if you look at a female's vagina, opening of the vagina is more narrow, but within an inch or two, the vagina becomes very wide. So what do what matters is the length of your penis may not matter as much as you think. And probably there is a lot of variability between women and what they like sexually. But if you look at the G-spot on a woman, it's within the first inch or two of the vagina. You don't need
You just gained them back.
We got them back. You don't need an 8-inch penis to hit. And if you've got an 8-inch penis, great, man.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You don't need an 8-inch penis to hit the G-spot. What you need is to be a present lover. You need to have an emotional connection with the woman. Never thought the podcast would go in this direction, right? And you need to understand women's anatomy. So let me just drop something on the men watching this. The clitoris is real. Number one, the clitoris is real. The clitoris is not only the small little organ that you see at the top of the labia. The clitoris goes around the labia. The clitoris extends backward. If you've ever seen a picture of a 3-dimensional clitoris, it's much larger than what...
Careful with your search, Ryan. Type in 3-dimensional picture of a clitoris.
Yeah.
Can't believe we're doing this, but we're there, folks. We're going to go through this together.
And so you think about this, like the clitoris is much larger in the vagina than men imagine. So you don't need to focus just on the dot. The women like that when you focus on the exterior clitoris, but also focusing on the clitoris around the labia and the clitoris that extends posteriorly in a woman. So like there's a lot. You know, what's interesting is that the labia of a woman's vagina are the same things that form into the scrotum of a man. So, and then the clitoris is the same thing that becomes the penis. And so you think about a penis growing, the penis also extends further into a man's body than just what's exterior. So there is a lot more tissue there to work with. And thinking about how to pleasure a woman without watching porn is the way to do this. So I think for the majority of men watching this who think that their penis is not big enough, you're probably wrong. It's just that maybe you're not using it properly, you're going too quickly, you're watching porn. And if you talk to women, they'll probably tell you it's fine. So that's what I would say. Now, again, I think that and this is where we really need to talk to the young people, like the quality of the food that young men eat almost certainly will affect optimal penis growth. So yeah, it's important.
There you go. Okay, next story here.
Hopefully we kept him.
This was great. Now I think we gained him back. We have a new massive audience. What'd you say?
Average massive audience. Hey guys, I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Minect if you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here. The other day I'm watching I was watching either a playoff game or something, and then I saw Barkley come up. And Barkley was doing a GLP-1 commercial. I'm like, Charles Barkley, I've seen the Serena Williams one for only $10 or whatever, so it's more of a money ad that she does, and she's lost a lot of weight. But then I saw Barkley, and I saw the numbers reported that Barkley had lost, he went from 360 pounds to weighing 352 pounds to 267. He's lost 85 pounds using this product on Mounjaro, which is like a form of a GLP-1, okay? And he says, I know GLP-1s are effective. I witnessed it myself. The difficult part was obtaining medication. He wants to get back to his playing days, which, by the way, he looks great. He's 267 pounds today. Playing days was 250. And then I had Umberto and Rob pull up some stats on obesity and being overweight. And I saw the video you posted of New York back in 1920 versus today. Rob, I don't know if you have that clip or not. And this is such a great video of comparing what America looked like in 1920. Well, it's overlapping because he's speaking on it. So if you can find another one, Rob will show it. It's just you type in on X, New York 1920 versus today. And the numbers we pulled up is in 1920, only 3% of Americans were obese. Today, it's 41%. Why did we get so fat in America?
It's over 70% obese and overweight, Pat. Over 70% obese and overweight. So
and that's according to CDC, by the way, that number you're given.
That's according to CDC. And so this is crazy. And it's so interesting because I think that more than anything, the GLP-1 conversation, Mounjaro is a dual agonist. So it's GLP-1 and GIP. It's also called tirzepatide. These medications work. But the fact that they work so well, I think, is a clarion call to this idea that, like, how did we get so fat? This question you're asking. They partially ameliorate a problem that did not exist 100 years ago. You look at New York, we were not fat. And so I think that this is a clear indication that our food supply has just become so badly tainted. And Oprah's talked about this. She had a very viral clip on The View. Mm-hmm. I think it was from 2024 or 2025, where she said, I have the fat gene, which is not true. There's no such thing as a fat gene. But what there is something called food noise. This idea, and I think poor Oprah didn't realize this. She used to promote Weight Watchers, right? So she was promoting low quality food in low calorie packets when we are eating this tainted food that is full of all these ingredients that no one can pronounce. Your great-grandmother, my great-grandmother wouldn't recognize these food ingredients. These food ingredients are literally poisoning our brains, the satiety centers in the hypothalamus of our brains, and we cannot stop eating. And so in some ways, these GLP-1s, Mounjaro, Ozempic, and retatrutide, which is a triple agonist, they sort of address this food noise, the poisoning of our brains by the food, but there are things to think about here. There are potential downsides to these medications also. But for me, the biggest thing this conversation around Ozempic, Mounjaro, and retatrutide says is, how did we get so poisoned by our food? If we need a medication to actually calm the food noise, to partially reverse the complete destruction of our satiety that these engineered foods have caused, can't we just talk about going back to simple foods? Because in the early 1900s, most of what we ate were single ingredient foods. We talked about this on the last podcast. What are single ingredient foods? Beef, chicken, fish, pork, right? Lettuce, apples, celery. These are cheese, milk. These are single ingredient foods. It is virtually impossible to get fat or stay fat eating those foods. It is
even if you overeat.
It's very difficult to overeat those foods because our body has a programmed satiety mechanism in our brain that is hundreds of thousands of years old. It's very difficult to overeat steak and boiled potatoes. It's very difficult to overeat steak and lettuce. It's very difficult to overeat chicken and avocado. You will get a very clear satiety signal and you're just not interested in eating.
So then let me ask you this question. I read a book called Ageless Man. And I don't know if you've heard of this book, Ageless Man, where it talks about in the book that men with lower testosterone is worse for their health than higher testosterone. And they did a test on rats, or I don't know, mouse, certain testing they did, giving them testosterone and seeing how they would live longer, ageless men. So the argument then becomes, you're better off being on TRT than not being on TRT. Okay, there's a benefit to it. Some people are now sitting there saying, okay, Charles Barkley, he's been dealing with weight for a while. Is he healthier, continuing to live his lifestyle, doesn't change anything, he stays at 352, doesn't use GLP-1, or is he better off using GLP-1, dropping to 267, he's carrying 85 pounds less fat? What's a better decision for a guy like Barkley?
It's almost certainly using the GLP-1.
So in this case, it's a good case to use it.
It's a good case to use it, provided that Charles won't change his diet, right? And we can talk about the long-term consequences of using that GLP-1, potentially. But yeah, there is a use case for these medications, unquestionably. In some ways, like I said, they probably reverse or help address the poisoning of our brains that's been going on by our food system. The first choice that I would have for Charles is, can we just get you a chef to cook you delicious food that's single?
He can afford that.
Yeah, to get you single ingredient foods all the time. Because that, I believe, is going to lead to better long-term weight loss. One of the first issues I have with these GLPs is you're probably on them for life. So if Charles stops the GLP-1, the research is pretty clear that he's going to regain the weight within 1 to 2 years, almost all of it, and sometimes more. And there's
Why is that?
Because when you use the GLP-1s, there are changes that happen in the body that don't catch up to the changes that you're making with food. So when you're using a GLP-1, it creates satiety. There are some potentially beneficial metabolic effects of these medications, but when you stop it, you're going to go back to eating the food you were eating before because you haven't made lifestyle changes. You haven't developed discipline. You haven't understood how to make the right food choices. And your eating habits are going to outpace your metabolism because these GLPs will slow down your metabolism because you're eating less food. And so you've lost fat. You've also lost muscle mass. Muscle mass is positive for our metabolism. Muscle mass burns calories when we're sitting here having a podcast. That's what you want. And so if you're on a GLP-1, you have to be very careful you don't lose too much muscle mass by continuing to exercise, continuing to eat enough protein. But when you stop it, the eating habits that you never fixed will outpace the metabolism that's been changed by the GLPs. There's a study that came out saying that when you stop a GLP-1, you regain the weight 4 times faster than if you stopped exercise. 4 times faster. So this is the problem. And so it's great for the pharmaceutical companies. I think that they say Mounjaro, tirzepatide, is the #1 selling drug in the world now.
Wow.
And I think people are suggesting that retatrutide, which is the triple agonist, it's not FDA cleared yet, but probably will obtain FDA clearance in 2027, will be the best-selling drug in the world almost immediately. And so here we are with very widely used drugs that people may need to be on for life to maintain the quote benefits. That's a little concerning because people run into GI side effects. People can run into other side effects, ocular side effects. And then what do you do if you cannot continue? The discontinuation rate of these drugs is not insignificant because people do run into side effects. So is it a short-term fix? Potentially. Does it have side effects? Yes. They're fairly safe drugs on balance. They're not perfect. They're fairly safe. But I want people to understand that when you take these drugs, you are essentially committing yourself to a lifelong use of the drug, which is always a little bit concerning for us, right? And there is another way, which is, like we said, humans have eaten single ingredient foods or foods that your great grandmother would recognize the label for hundreds of thousands of years. Try getting fat on chicken breast and avocado. Doesn't happen.
Regular food. But that's boring, right? That's slow. That's come on, Paul. I don't have the time for that. I would much rather take the shortcut. 10 million people, according to JP Morgan Chase, are using GLP-1s 2025. They're guesstimating it's going to be 25 million by 2030, 4 years from now. And then on top of that, the cost is what? $1,200 a month, they say, give or take. If you have insurance, of course, it's a different story. But $1,200. So the average person to do $1,200 a month, and you'll need to be on it for, depending, let's just say it's a year program, that's $15,000. That's a big cost to a lot of different people. So some of these insurance companies are now adding it to it. So then the question becomes, what is it? Is it really, when I talk to people who use it, all it does is it tells you you're not hungry. Is that really all it does?
It does a few more things than that. It does.
It's a diabetes drug. It's not like it was.
It's also a diabetes drug.
Right.
They're also using it for addictions. It's being studied for addictions, which is a very interesting sort of sidebar, because the GLP-1 receptors do occur in the pleasure pathways in the brain. So there's a lot of complex names here: VTA, ventral tegmental area, nucleus accumbens. These are the pleasure pathways in our brain that are activated with nicotine, with alcohol, with romance, sex, learning. And so I think that the next use we'll see for these medications is with addictions. But then there's another sort of corollary conversation. And this is perhaps not the most important part of the GLP-1 conversation, but it is relevant for some people. That is it possible that if you use these medications, it will affect your ability to make new relationships, fall in love, and desire? And this is, at this point, it's purely anecdotal, but the conversations on X are very compelling.
What does that mean? What does that have to do with relationships?
Well, because if you're overstimulating, so GLP-1 agonists, if you're overstimulating the GLP-1 receptors in the pleasure pathways in the brain, the VTA, the nucleus accumbens, are you blunting your ability? Just like they're going to be effective for addictions, they sort of decrease the food reward, and they're going to decrease the reward of alcohol. They decrease the reward of smoking and potentially other addictive drugs. Are they going to decrease the normal pleasure pathways that are activated when you fall in love with someone, when you have desire? This is a concern. Again, I don't think this is the primary conversation, but this is the corollary conversation of maybe it's not a good thing to be on these for the rest of our lives. And we don't know. I want to be very clear. We don't know the answer to this. But if you look on
started 2005, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
GLP-1's first one that was FDA approved was sold in 2005. So we only have 20 years of data on this.
That's for Ozempic, for semaglutide, and Mounjaro is very more recent, and retatrutide has never been approved by the FDA. So we don't even have long-term data on retatrutide.
Is it on track to get
it? It is.
Okay.
It is 2027, yes. So for someone like Charles Barkley, great example, probably on balance, these are positive if he can't make lifestyle changes. But what about the millions of young men who are at 15% body fat and could just eat single ingredient foods, but are going to take retatrutide or tirzepatide to get down to 11%, to look shredded? Mm-hmm. Is it going to affect relationships? Is it going to affect how we relate to people? It's a really compelling question because the neurobiological mechanisms in our brain are there. And if you look on X, there are a lot of these threads. People are saying, I was at a conversation, I just saw it last night. You can pull it up on X. I don't know the account. I think it's Tyler Durden's account. It's this guy, this eponymous account from Fight Club.
Yeah.
And he was just saying, I was at dinner the other day and people were saying that they're falling out of love on Ozempic, and that it was like over 1 million impressions or something. It was really interesting that when you put that out there, people are actually saying, this happened to me. Now, again, there are lots of cases where...
Can you pull that up? I'm actually curious to know the comment section on what they said, if you find that. Was that recently?
Yeah, I just saw it last night, so it's got to be pretty recent on his account. We can find it. I would say like, yeah, search for Tyler Durden, like falling out of love, GLP-1s or something. Yeah.
But keep going. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm tracking. So falling out of love.
And there's been a lot of theorizing around this just because of these neurobiological preserved pathways in the brain. So who knows here, right? Who knows? But I think that my point with Ozempic, Mounjaro, tirzepatide is there is another way, right? And I wish I could have told this to Oprah 15, 20 years ago. There is another way to do this. And it goes back to something that's not sexy, that's a little bit easier, that requires discipline, but that works longer term, which is, hey, simple single ingredient foods. This is the way. Yes.
Hearing some interesting stories from friends who have friends taking peptides, falling completely out of love overnight with wives and partners. Go a little bit lower. You're not permitted to comment this post if you failed the COVID IQ test, the rule of 5.5 billion cheers. Go lower. Let's see if people are saying it this stem. Keep going lower. Yeah, that's interesting to be thinking about that.
Kills enjoyment. And by peptides, he's talking about GLP-1s here, because those are the peptides that are affecting the enjoyment in the ventral tegmental area, the nucleus accumbens. And it's something we don't know for sure, but it's very concerning.
Could it be that it's, because every time there's something, there's fear porn. Could it be the fact that you're on GLP-1s, if you're 350 pounds and you don't make a lot of money and you're not that successful, odds are your wife is probably close to 350 pound type of a person. I don't know if I'm being a prick here. I'm just saying statistically. Unless if you're Charles Barkley, you're famous, you're going to get any girl you want for the most part. But odds are you're not dating somebody as attractive as you. So then all of a sudden you get on GLP-1s and Ozempic and you lose 50, 60, 70 pounds. And let's just say you were 220, now you're at 150. You look amazing. People are now looking at you. Maybe it's not that you're fallen out of love with your spouse. Maybe you now have options you didn't have before.
It's very possible. And there certainly are situations where both people in the relationship get on these medications, both people become more attractive, and probably the relationship gets better. But I just think it's a really interesting biological mechanism in the brain with known neurological pathways. And you can look it up too. These medications do have effects for addiction. So there's something going on with
no question about
pleasure
that.
pathway.
No question about that.
And there's no biological free lunch pad. And that's just a little note of caution that I want to add to these, a little asterisk I want to add to these medications. No biological free lunch. When people are saying retatrutide is the best thing since sliced bread, I'm thinking just wait, because there's no biological free lunch.
Yeah, well, we'll see that part on what's going to happen. The reality of it is, in U.S., I think the Ozempic product by itself plus the diabetes combined together is a $40 to an $80 billion industry right now. And they're saying it's going to get to $100 to $200 billion by 2030, 2035. So when you see a number like that, this brings me up to the next question. Last year, Big Pharma spent some $7 billion on advertising. And one of the conversations you and I had, as well as I had with Bobby, was with Maha, and when he would get in, there you go, $7 billion in 2025, Big Pharma. That's a lot of money. So that money is going to media, channels, CNN, everybody's get Fox, NBC, they're all getting a part of that money. But one of the things we discussed was there's only 2 countries in the world that allow this. It's us and New Zealand. That, Maha would possibly work on eliminating Big Pharma from being able to advertise on TV. How much progress have you guys made on that?
I don't think there's been much progress on that, unfortunately.
Why do you think that is?
Well, you talked about it before, because if you eliminate the pharmaceutical ad revenue from television stations, you're going to see all the television stations collapse. We can look up the amount of money spent we're looking at it right now, but how much of any television station, any news channel is pharmaceutical ads? It's a lot today.
I started off with the first story being Barkley because I saw it on an ad.
Yeah.
So if I don't see that on ad, I don't know if I know that Barkley lost weight. What does it say, Rob?
13.1% of all national linear TV ad spends were from Big Pharma in Q3.
13%.
Pharma spending grew to 16% by 2025. Yeah, well, it's a big deal. A lot of ads.
What's the likelihood that they'll get it done? Or this is something that's probably not going to get done?
I don't see it happening.
Okay.
It's too close to home, It's too close to home. I can't see it. The lobby is too strong. And again, I would love to see it happen. A lot of people watch television. A lot of people are influenced by these ads. I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
Okay.
Hey guys, I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Manect if you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here. So what are some things that people would want to see happen next that could be the next big phenomenon? I'm sure you've seen the whole, insecurity with heights, right? With
the
their height.
surgeries.
Yeah, with a leg lengthening
Oh my
surgery.
gosh.
Surgery involves deliberately breaking the bone, then slowly lengthening it to use an internal rod. And the bone lengthens 1 millimeter per day. The lengthening phase takes about 3 to 4 months. And approximately 6 months later, you could grow 6 inches in height. They're doing it here for $125,000 to $135,000. But if you want to go do it in, Europe or different places, you can do for $25,000 to $30,000. And some people that take it may never be able to run again. Yeah, here's one guy.
Oh my gosh.
6 inches for height.
This gets into like Looksmaxxing.
This gets into Looksmaxxing, but height is another one of those things, right?
Yeah.
I'll make more money if I'm above 6 feet tall. If I'm 5'6", I add 6 inches. I'm 5'11", 6 feet tall. Do you see this thing getting bigger, or you think this is a little bit more limited than the others?
This is pretty tough because I think people are not going to do this. What was the movie that just came out? I think it was called, I'll think of it over the course. There was a character in this movie. It was Pedro Pascal was in this movie, and his character in the movie had the surgery. I'll think of the movie. It's scary because The Materialist. So it's a romantic movie. I watched it on a plane. It's Pedro Pascal, Dakota Johnson, and there's like this love triangle between Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. And Pedro Pascal
One of them is a rich one. The other one's a waiter. Is this the one?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
And so Pedro Pascal comes from a very successful family. He's in New York. He's an entrepreneur. He does private equity or something, and he's had the surgery. Anyway, it comes up in the movie. It's interesting. To me, I think this is too far. This is a bridge too far for most people. You can't run. What if you fall? You think about this in the UFC. Conor McGregor, Anderson Silva, the guys who break their tibia when they kick someone in the leg, and then they have a plate, and they're sort of hampered for the rest of their life. They can't kick things. I mean, not everybody wants to kick things, but if you want to do intense sports, like what if you want to move in your life? You're really limiting what you can do with these surgeries. So I don't know about this. It's pretty crazy that people are actually doing this. I mean, the Looksmaxxing stuff goes crazy. People bone smashing, jaw surgeries, implants. The thing I want to say about height is that there's compelling evidence that what you feed children during their growing years can affect height. Obviously, the genetics have a factor. You're tall, your wife's height, these kind of things. These will affect your children's height. But we see this across the world. Height in both men and women is correlated with nutrition and correlated with the consumption of animal products, and specifically vitamin K2. So vitamin K2 is a form of vitamin K that occurs in animal foods. It's in things like cheeses or full-fat milk, meat, liver we talked about, butter. This is vitamin K2. And there is compelling evidence that giving children enough vitamin K2 when they're growing, which means feeding them liver or liver supplements or butter, things that we're afraid of, feeding them enough meat will allow them to achieve their maximum potential height.
K2? Vitamin K2 linked to height?
Yes, because vitamin K2 is involved in bone turnover. And vitamin K2 deficiency appears to cause calcification of the growth plates. So when you have enough vitamin K2, you manage calcium stores in the body properly and where your body puts calcium. As an adult, adequate vitamin K2 is consistently and significantly associated with lower rates of calcific aortic sclerosis, so calcification of the aortic valve, and atherosclerosis of our arteries. So vitamin K2 is found in animal foods, cheeses. This is a famous observational study called the Rotterdam study. Those who had the highest level of K2 in their diet, the highest tertile of vitamin K2, had the lowest all-cause mortality, the lowest atherosclerosis risk, and the lowest amounts of calcific aortic sclerosis, calcification. But when you're growing, you don't want the growth plates to calcify. So you make sure your children are getting enough animal foods, eggs, butter, liver, things like this, red meat that we shouldn't be afraid of. That allows the growth plates to not calcify too early and to stunt growth. So look, I'm 5'9". I always wish I was 5'11" or 6'0", and I'm thinking, I wish my parents had fed me more eggs, or a little better diet. Both my parents were doctors, but I grew up in the low-fat craze. And, we had kind of an average standard American diet. Who knows? I mean, it's worked out. I mean, I'm fine in the end, but I can tell you that as a man who is 5'9", I look at men who are 6 feet or 6'1", I think, man, I wish,
Do you still say that?
I still think about that, I still think about that. And I even saw this bone surgery. Should I get that? And I thought, no, I couldn't do that. I'm too active.
No, you're active. You're running. You're surfing.
Well, I'm kicking. I want to do martial arts.
You send me video of stuff you're doing in Costa Rica, the surfing, and it's the sickest. Every time you send me the video, I'm in an office. I'm like, this guy is sending me another one of these videos that he's enjoying himself in Costa Rica.
Anyway, yeah, I want to be able to do those things.
It'd be tough to do that if you add those.
I would never do that. But before the podcast, we were talking about children. I have an amazing girlfriend. She's now my fiance, and we want to have kids. And I'm thinking, every time I see this stuff, I think, how do I want to feed these children? Yep. And of course, we're talking about Paul Saladino. I'm going to feed my kids animal foods. I'm going to feed my kids, meat and liver, either in capsules or in real liver or eggs. And because I want my children to have as much of an ability to live their life as healthy as possible. End of story. So it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, no question. The vitamin K, what was it again? K2. Vitamin K2, interesting thing to look at. It's one of my kids is like, hey, when am I getting my growth spurt? I said, buddy, I don't know. I don't know when you're going to get it. One of them is size 11 and a half feet. The other one is size 8. It's like, how tall do you think I'm going to say? Listen, when it comes down to heights, I don't know what to tell you.
How old is he?
He's 12. But he's
got time.
He's got time, yeah. But his brother is a giant. He's a big boy. His hands are the same size as my hands at 14 years old, okay? So he's a big boy. He's getting bigger. But we'll see what'll happen. Some of it, you just have to wait. The other part is when you're saying vitamin K2, we got to look into that.
Hey guys, I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Manect if you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here. So you got all these maxing, right? Balls maxing, looks maxing. You got people talking about go lay down and, naked under the sun. You got hitting this stuff with your jaw and do the jaw surgery because you're going to get better with girls and all this other stuff. Which one of these do you say there's credibility there because it's like put ice on your testicles? The reason for it is the reason why everything drops is because it's trying to cool off. So find a way to cool off. Then you'll read stories about sauna. Sauna's not good because it lowers your sperm count if you're using sauna too often at a certain temperature. There is so much information that you're like, if you do this, it hurts this, but it helps this. But if you do this, it helps this, but it hurts this. So to the average person, where are you at with these maxing stuff?
It's interesting. I did a post on X, and we're actually going to be filming a video this week. We're in Miami about natural Looksmaxxing. The Clavicular, I actually met Clavicular last year in Los Angeles before he got more popular, and it was just painful. He was just so, he's been on testosterone since he was 14 or 15 years old. He's
14 years old,
maybe 15 or he's been on testosterone at large doses, 300 to 400 milligrams a day for so long, and he's taking so many different peptides and medications. And you look at his supplement stack. I did a video about critiquing his supplement stack. It's definitely hurting him long term. He's not optimizing for longevity or health. He's optimizing for looking a certain way right now. But look, here's what I think about it. Like attractiveness has a biological correlate. When we are more healthy, when children are fed a more nutrient-rich diet, when they're fed a better diet, their faces become more wide, their teeth develop more properly. A lot of what we're seeing with Looksmaxxing is trying to counteract the fact that most of us were raised with garbage diets. So again, we're kind of back to parents or future parents, think about how you're feeding your children. Or even now as adults, we can affect the way we look with the quality of the way we live our lives. What's one of the easiest ones we can do? Sleep enough. Totally changes your attractiveness, right? Get enough sleep, which we can talk about. Eat foods with nutrients. And I think plant foods are fine, but we keep coming back to this idea that a lot of the nutrients we need to be optimally fertile, have optimal libido and sex drive, optimal hormones, and optimally attractive are found almost exclusively or predominantly in animal foods. And yet we've been told to fear those. So animal foods, especially things like eggs, egg yolks, don't fear the egg yolk, red meat, liver, like we talked about. These are how we start to naturally Looksmaxx. These are the things that widen our jaws. There was a guy in the 1940s named Weston A. Price. You ever heard of him?
No.
He was a dentist. He was kind of like the original explorer, the original Indiana Jones. He went all over the world and studied indigenous populations all over the world, and he took stunning photographs. So he wrote a book called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, which is very dry and very thick. But the photographs, maybe you guys can pull up some of the photographs of the people he noted all over the world. You see these wide jaws, these perfectly arched palates. Look at this guy's teeth. There's no dentist, right? These are not veneers. There's no tooth whitening. It's a black and white photo. But look at the width of that palate. The average palate used to be 50 millimeters across. Today, it's 34 millimeters.
What?
This is almost entirely due to the quality of our food. It's these easily chewable foods. This is juxtaposing, children in developed society eating processed flours and processed sugars with indigenous people. They're not even really brushing their teeth. They're not doing anything crazy. They're not taking tirzepatide. There's no Looksmaxxing going on here. Those are beautiful humans, right? On the left side of this photo, who are eating traditional diets. This is an incredible juxtaposition that we have forgotten. So if we want to Looksmaxx, we just really need to return to the way that humans have eaten. And I know that I keep saying this, and maybe it sounds pedestrian, but there's so much wisdom here. Look at this. These are from the 1940s, and this has largely been forgotten. Those palates are wide. This is what's attractive to us: a wide jaw, a big palate, a maxillary bone that is fully developed. And this predominantly has to do with the quality of the foods we're eating and actually activating the masseter muscle by chewing foods. When we activate muscles in our jaw, it triggers bone deposition because the muscles have to pull on the bone. So if we are not chewing, right? You think about this. When was the last time you actually chewed something that you had to really chew? A lot of us cut the tendons off of our steaks because we don't want to chew. It's too chewy, right? We need this today. All of us, kids need it, adults need it. The masseter muscle is so strong and it pulls on the jaw, and then bone deposition occurs because the bone is pulling, the muscle's pulling on the bone. The bone has to lay down osteoblasts have to lay down bone and lay down matrix because the muscle's pulling on it so hard. So we think about this, it's like all this Looksmaxxing has its roots in our evolutionary history. You want a mate that's healthy because you want to make healthy children. So it's not, in some ways you think it's vain. Oh, this woman wants to look good, this guy wants to look good. No, what you're trying to do, what we've forgotten about, is actually signal to a mate that you're healthy. Well, why not actually just try and be healthy rather than faking it, right? So it's pretty interesting to me.
How deep, because you're in this world, what do you see and how far people are going with some crazy things people are excited? I saw the hammer thing. What else are you seeing?
Well, they're doing jaw implants, right? They're getting all sorts of facial surgeries. Guys will get facial surgeries on their eyes.
We have a guy that does jaw surgeries. It's $70,000. He's the best guy in America. And he's done 2,000 plus of those. And people pay him $70,000 to be able to fix the jaw to look, the way they want it to look.
Strong jaw.
Yeah.
And so remember, like, the reason you have the strong jaw is a signal of health and fertility to a potential mate. And you can improve this without a jaw surgery. Yeah, this is crazy.
So what does this do, though, when he's hammering it? Is this supposed to do anything?
Yeah, the idea is that if you break the bone, it's going to grow back in a certain way. And there might be some truth to this. And, like, let's be honest, like, why not just get it nutritionally, right? Like, I don't think people should be smashing their face. And it's an indication that we're all sort of eating these easily pre-digested soft foods which are poor in nutrients. People are doing crazy stuff. I mean, veneers are common. And the thing with veneers that's potentially problematic is that when you have a veneer, can you actually occlude, right? Can you bite down in the proper way in your jaw? All of this is really important for proper alignment of the jaw, avoidance of temporomandibular joint syndrome. So I think that the problem with this is that, in 5 to 10 years, a lot of these Looksmaxxing therapies especially the stuff that Clavicula was talking about, are just going to lead people to be miserable. He's not going to look great in 10 years, you know?
You don't think he's going to look good in 10 years?
I don't think he's going to look very good in 10 years. He's definitely not going to look good in 20 years. He's only 21 years old or 20 years old. He's so young, you know? And he's definitely changing the trajectory of his health in a negative way, unquestionably.
Yeah, a lot of young men, they'll see whoever's the hottest person today and they want to replicate that person. And he is getting a lot of guys that are talking about, I'm speaking at a school today right afterwards, Career Day. And I'm going to be asking, every time I go to schools and I'm talking to kids, 10 to 18 years old, I want to ask them, who do you guys follow today? Who do you look up to today? And you'd be amazed what names are coming up.
What names come up?
Oh, he's one of the names that comes up in the top 5 right now. So when you ask him, it's
scary.
Like, it is a trend and a pattern, and the parents must take responsibility to educate. It's nothing new. This has always been the case.
Yeah.
Where people were, at one point, people were worried about, Elvis shaking his hips and, hey, don't do that in front of girls. This is not good. It's going to make, girls want to have sex and all this other stuff. But sometimes we exaggerate it. Sometimes it's like a trend and it goes away. And sometimes it stays. I don't know if this is going to be a trend or if it's going to stay or not. I know forever we're going to want to look better and be more attractive to the opposite sex. That's never going away.
So do it the right way, So my hope, and I would love to, this would be really cool. I would love to talk to some of these kids and say, hey, do you want to do this but also live to be 85 years old and playing with your grandkids? Hey guys, stop eating junk food. Stop drinking Coca-Cola. Stop, eating Cheetos. Stop eating McDonald's and actually eat real food. You said it earlier in the podcast. We always want the shortcut. There's no free lunch here. But if kids, and this is one of the things that makes me the happiest, is when I meet a young adult, somebody, every once in a while, I'll meet a fan who's 15, 16 years old, often with their parents, but sometimes the 16-year-old influenced their parents to start thinking about health, and they found value.
The other way around.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the parents found value, and they found some value in my content. I think this 16-year-old, this 17-year-old, you're so far ahead of the curve if you are thinking about food quality now, if you are thinking about the fact that so much of what we're talking about today on the podcast is achievable with simple, high-quality food. And yet, what are we bombarded with? It is low-quality food, which shrinks our jaws, makes us less attractive, and makes us obese. There's an easy way. Yeah. There's I shouldn't say an easy way. There's an easy way with the cheap shortcuts, and there's a simple, clear way to do it, which is going to require discipline, but it's going to give you this trajectory and knowledge for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So people want to be what? If you were to say people want to be stronger, smarter, more attractive, wealthier, taller. Those are some of the things that we'll see.
Hey guys, I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Minect if you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here. So breath. Let's talk about breath. So, somebody who, you want to go back to the clip?
I guess you guys can show it, but.
No, I don't think we can.
Really? Does it get bad? The other things show up?
It just might be a little graphic for YouTube.
Okay. So all right. We'll skip it. So for those of you guys that want to get graphic, Minect Paul, he'll tell you more about it if this is something you want to learn about. Breath. Let's talk about bad breath. Okay. Yep. So, of course, what you put in your mouth and what you eat and what you put in your stomach. So for some people, maybe could it be that you never had breath issues and all of a sudden you start having breath issues, but you didn't change anything about your diet? So one, what causes somebody to have bad breath? Because in business and sales, like over the years, I've coached a lot of guys that are selling and they'll say, why is my closing ratio so low? Well, quite honestly, you smell. If you go into a family's house and you're talking to them, you're getting close to them, it smells. So one is they use products to help with their breath. But then the other thing is, what can I do that could be internal that maybe I'm starting to have bad breath?
This is microbiome. So we talked about vaginal microbiome. We talked about gastrointestinal microbiome, the microbiome in your esophagus and your actual mouth, which are connected directly to your stomach, your duodenum, right? Your small intestine. This is what creates bad breath. This is what creates halitosis is the technical term. So How do we fix those things? You fix those things. I sound like a broken record, Pat, but it's important because we keep coming back to this idea. You fix these things with quality of diet. So you can change the halitosis in your mouth, in your gut, which is dysbiosis, by eating better quality foods. That is the answer. In the short term, yes, use breath mints. Mouthwash is interesting, right? Because there's studies showing that if you use mouthwash before you go to the one of the vasodilatory gases, compounds in the human body. So I can't say this for sure, but I suspect there might even be evidence that if you use too much mouthwash, if you destroy the microbiome of your...
It's actually bad for you.
It's bad.
Too much mouthwash is bad for you.
It's bad for you. It can affect your vascularity, your ability to dilate. It might even affect erectile
Why
strength.
though? Why? Help me understand that.
Because the bacteria in our mouth produce nitric oxide naturally.
So you need some of that bacteria in your mouth.
The bacteria in your mouth are essential. They're essential.
Do you use mouthwash?
I do not use mouthwash. I have not used mouthwash. I remember when before I went to medical school, I went to PA school. And I remember I was in PA school at George Washington University, and I was going to see a girl, and I just did the Listerine and just crushed it and walked out the door. My dad goes, whoa. And I was like, it's fine, it's fine. That's the last time I remember using mouthwash,
So what do you not use? So if I was to go, you go to someone's, I think I saw an article the other day. If you go to a man's bathroom, there's 6 to 8 products. But if you go to a woman's side of the bathroom, there's 332 products, some ridiculous amount of products versus what we have as men. If somebody goes into your bathroom, what products do you have?
I have a toothbrush that is made from plant fibers. So there's no plastics.
Toothbrush made from plant fibers.
So it's an electric toothbrush.
Type in that, Rob.
The bristles are made of castor oil derivatives.
Like something like that?
I think that it's called Surrey, I think is the brand of the toothbrush. I have no affiliation. It's an electric toothbrush, and the bristles are made of plant fibers because I don't want plastic toothbrush bristles, right? And you think about just like microplastics, when you brush your teeth with a plastic bristle toothbrush, you're releasing micro and nanoplastics into your body. So there's a toothbrush. Pat, I don't use toothpaste.
Zero.
I don't use toothpaste.
And by the way, just to say, I don't smell your breath.
Thank you.
So then you use deodorant?
I will use deodorant, but I will use a natural deodorant, or I will use rubbing alcohol. If you look at deodorants, you have to be very careful.
Rubbing alcohol instead of deodorant?
You can. It's the simplest form of...
Now, why do you not use deodorant? Because Liver King also wasn't using deodorant.
Well, yeah.
When he walked in, by the way, I'm not going to lie to you, 3 people passed out. Do you remember that day, Rob?
Yeah.
And we were stuck in a vault because we used to do our podcast in a bank vault. It was a bad situation.
So look, just like your mouth, the breath, your human smell is also determined by the quality of the food you eat. Your microbiome determines has a large influence on all these things. So when I use deodorant, I will use a natural deodorant. I don't want phthalates. I don't want parabens. Again, endocrine disruptors going directly into my body. Your armpits are they're very porous. They're very absorbable. You can intake a lot of things. I don't want aluminum. So deodorant's fine. Just you look for a natural deodorant.
Give an idea. Like what?
What's a good one?
I've been using the same thing for 30 years and I love it. I use Polo Sport, the red one, whatever the Polo Sport is.
I'm not sure that's natural.
I tried a bunch of... No, it's not natural.
Not natural.
No, but what do you suggest? That's what I'll use.
You know what is good is Primally Pure.
That's what I use. That exact product you have there is what I used.
So we can look at the ingredients in that. And I'm sure there's going to be some scents, some phthalates. At least it's aluminum free. I used to use this 30 years ago. Primally Pure. No affiliation, but this is a great company for deodorant.
What is it called?
Primally Pure.
Primally Pure, Rob.
Yeah. So you see there was fragrance on your deodorant. Mm-hmm. This is essentially phthalates. So these are endocrine disrupting chemicals. Yeah. So this Primally Pure is a good deodorant company. No affiliation, but these are good people. I know them. So
okay. What else? So what else is in the bathroom?
So
shampoo, soap, so you don't have toothpaste. You have that toothbrush.
I don't have toothpaste. I think toothpaste is kind of a scam. If you want to use toothpaste, use a natural toothpaste. I have concerns about fluoride in toothpaste. It's very high. And when we look across population data, it's pretty strong signal that very high levels of fluoride exposure are associated with lower IQs. So I'm not going to actively ingest fluoride. I don't need fluoride in the toothpaste. There are natural toothpastes out there, but something as simple as a combination of coconut oil and baking soda can be a great toothpaste. When I use toothpaste, that's what I use. Coconut oil, baking soda. Be a little careful. You don't want to brush too hard with the baking soda. You can strip the enamel, but most of the time it's fine. So no deodorant. In the shower, I don't use shampoo. I use soap sometimes, and it's a tallow-based soap. I don't even know the brand. There's like,
Soap in your hair.
No, I use soap on my body.
So you don't wash your hair at all?
I don't wash my hair with shampoo.
Just rinse it.
Just rinse it. Yep. I mean, I'm in the ocean all the time.
When's the last time you used shampoo?
It's been a long time, Pat. Maybe
10 years?
20.
Stop it.
20 years. Yeah, 20 years. But you look at
Wow.
most shampoos and you have, scents and, again, all the same sort of problems. And there are studies done on women, but I'm sure we'd see the same thing in men. When you simplify your self-care regimen, the amount of these endocrine disrupting chemicals decrease meaningfully in your body, assayed through urine. I don't put lotions on my skin, Pat. I don't know what else people use.
Shaving cream. Do you use shaving cream?
I don't use shaving
How do you
cream.
shave?
I use aloe vera gel on my face.
You use aloe vera and then razor, just any kind of razor?
Any kind of razor. Yep. So and you can see I like to keep the scruff. But yeah, I will use aloe vera on my skin. I don't use traditional sunscreens. When I go in the ocean, I use a tallow-based sunscreen. I make it myself. It's tallow, it's coconut oil, it's non-nano zinc, and it's a little bit of beeswax. I just put it on my face for Costa Rican surfing in the morning.
How often do you surf in Costa Rica?
Every morning.
Every morning.
Every morning, man.
What time?
6.
Every morning.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do if you come down here?
I've got a foil board. So a foil board is like a board with a mast and a foil underneath, and it kind of goes on the water. It like flies on the water. I might do some paddle boarding. That's a foil board.
Oh, that's cool. I've seen those.
Yeah. I've got a foil board for here.
And you don't need waves for that.
You don't need waves for that. There's an electric foil board that I have, or you can find little swells you can foil board. I'll do paddle boarding down here.
Have you ever surfed in Costa Rica where you encountered sharks or anything?
I've never seen a shark in Costa Rica. I saw a shark in Australia. There are sharks out there. I've seen small sharks when I was snorkeling on an island called Canyo Island, which is 32 miles off the coast of Costa Rica where I live. Small sharks, reef sharks. I've never seen a crazy shark. I've gotten stung by a stingray on my foot, and that hurt like crazy. So a stingray got me on my ankle. And I've been stung by jellyfish that were quite painful. Not all of them are bad, but otherwise nothing. And Costa Rica is amazing. It's pretty safe for surfing. But so you think about it, like there's no shampoo in my shower. Maybe there's a bar of tallow soap. We've done videos on this. My bathroom is so boring. There's nothing on the counter, There's nothing on the counter. And so it's not that any of these things are intrinsically bad. It's just that I don't feel like I need them. And if you want to use these home care products, read the ingredients. Be very careful because they do contain a lot of endocrine disrupting compounds. Hey guys, I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Manect if you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here. A man who impacted tens of millions of men around the world, Jordan Peterson, whom you and I both know about. And he has dealt with certain challenges. I remember in 2019 when I had an event with him, the late Kobe Bryant, and President Bush and Billy Beane. That was the event I had at Mirage, I believe. And he was one of the guys that we had there. Right after the event, that's the last interview that he did. Stories have now come out, which his daughter's spoken about. Now his wife is openly talking about this. So this is public information. Jordan Peterson's wife says he's in another realm of pain from psychiatric medication injury. If I'm not mistaken, that's your major in school was psychiatry, an element of it, right?
I did my residency after medical school in psychiatry.
Right.
I never really practiced, but I was interested in mental health.
Okay,
yeah.
So if you go a little bit lower with this, Rob, on what we see here. So neurological injury is suffering from medication-induced neurological injury. Dr. Peterson is at home with family and helpful companions. He's not talking about going back to work yet. Feels like if it's another realm of pain, his mornings are brutally painful and discouraging for him. Much later in the day, he sometimes feels some relief. The damage tone from the psychiatric medication from over 6 years ago takes patience, time, and loving attention. Go a little bit lower, Rob. It's been well documented, his medical struggle with benzos, which there's many different types of benzos that they've talked about. His family has previously drawn attention to the severe difficulties he experienced from the withdrawal. So a lot of people are using medication today, a lot of them. Michaela's posted multiple videos to see what's happening while she gives the updates. And so whether it's Xanax, whether it's Klonopin, whether it's Valium, whether it's a lorazepam, whether it's a lot of this stuff, what have we learned from the side effects of this. This is a public figure that we all follow. Billions and billions of views online. What do we not know about it yet that we're starting to learn?
These benzodiazepine medications commonly prescribed for anxiety, overprescribed, very addictive, and very habit-forming. They oftentimes, as we're seeing here, can semi-permanently change the structure of the brain at the level of neurons. They affect a neurotransmitter called GABA, GABAergic transmission in the brain, and this is it's generally an inhibitory neurotransmitter. And so the benzodiazepines make the ability of this inhibitory neurotransmitter more in the brain. And so it's calming. It's a similar mechanism to alcohol. And if you know, alcohol is one of the things that you can die from the withdrawal. There are very few things that you can die from withdrawal. Somebody comes in, they're addicted to cocaine or they're addicted to meth. They're not going to die when they withdraw. When you stop taking benzodiazepines or alcohol, you can die from the withdrawals because of the way it changes your brain. And so what Jordan appears to be suffering from now, it's unclear to me why he originally started using benzodiazepines in the first place, whether it was anxiety, but they're prescribed far too commonly by physicians. They're just, it's easy to get Xanax. It's easy to get Valium. Xanax is very quick acting. It's very commonly abused. They're prescribed so commonly. And we're back to, why are so many people anxious? Why are so many people struggling with these issues? Now, a very close cousin of these medications are things like Ambien, the sleep medications. They're non-benzodiazepine sedative hypnotics, but they're also habit-forming. So when we're talking about sleep disturbance, which is a cousin of anxiety, we're giving out Ambien to people easily. And then it's almost impossible to get off. I have a good friend, a well-known woman in the podcast space, and she cannot get off Ambien. She's been on Ambien for years for sleep. And I'm thinking, this is not good for you. It's not healthy. We need detox centers to get people off this, but people need to be very careful before you go on anxiety medications. A lot has come out recently also about SSRIs or other types of antidepressants, which can be SNRIs, or there's dopaminergic mechanisms for the antidepressants. But these medications are hard to get off. Did you see Theo Vaughn on Rogan recently saying, I've been on antidepressants, SSRIs, since I was 22 years old or something?
Stop it.
Yes. And he wants to get off, but he has trouble getting off, and they make him feel flat because that's what these medications do. They don't necessarily fix the problem with depression. Depression is not, that's the clip right there.
Play this, Rob? I've not seen this. I really like what Theo's been saying lately about God and relationship. Is that the clip right there?
I think this is a different one, but it's from the same episode.
You can find it. Yeah. So he said he's been on SSRIs.
Let's just watch that, Rob, if you can put that.
What do you think is going to happen? You think we're going to be okay?
I hope so. Of course. I don't know.
Do you think about it?
Is it about it?
I can't believe we went to
This is in it?
school.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we're one of the reasons I didn't practice psychiatry, so just so people understand, everyone goes to the same medical school. I got an MD from the University of Arizona, and then you choose. I had the option to choose internal medicine, surgery. At the time, I was really interested in depression and anxiety and neuroinflammation connections between these medications, these pathologies. But I was so disillusioned by what I saw during my 4-year residency at the University of Washington in psychiatry that I didn't want to practice. Because what happens is so quickly we get patients on these medications, whether it's a benzodiazepine for anxiety, whether it's an SSRI for, quote, depression. In the clip, Theo says, Joe says, why'd you get on it? He says, I think I had a bad breakup. You think you had a bad breakup, right? Which is probably not biological depression. It's just situational stress. And somebody puts you on an SSRI medication.
You remember what pill he said he was taking?
I don't think he said what pill. Prozac is common, right? There's other ones. But then people end up on it for a long time, and it makes them feel flat. Depression is not the absence of serotonin in the human body. You can flood the synapses in the brain with serotonin and create flat. This might be the clip.
To get off of antidepressants completely, man.
This is
I wanna
Zoloft.
feel how I'm supposed to feel so I can have thoughts and actions that like make me feel connected to the world. That shit makes you feel dead, man.
So why did you take them in the first place?
Because I was in a bad relationship 20 years ago and I was having a tough day at school, and they gave them to me, and then I never got off.
Really?
Because when you get off, I think we talked about this once, it's hard.
Yeah, it makes you more depressed, more fucked up. You're all imbalanced, and you're addicted.
I lost
to
a
them.
friend.
Yeah.
I lost a friend in 2005 because he couldn't get off of it. May 2nd. I lost a friend to my best friend, couldn't get off of it. And one day we were at restaurant Shakey's in Glendale, and he went in his car in his Mustang to get something out of the car. And he's about to take all these pills in his mouth. I held it. I took the bottles away from him. He's like, Pat, I'm begging you, please, I got to take it. You don't know how much pain I'm in right now. We took him. We put him in a rehab. He was there for 12 days. And then he got out. He was good for a couple weeks. And then boom, one day I got the call and he woke up on top of a Bible in his bed and, never woke up. That was the last day. So a lot of people are dealing with this, and some of them are dealing with it privately and no one knows about it. At least Theo's dealing with it publicly. So he's going to get help.
And the thing about these medications is they can increase suicidality. The very thing you're trying to circumvent with the medications, when you mess with neurotransmitters in the brain, it's very powerful. So do not take this lightly. And so again, let's go back. What do I believe is causing depression in most people? It's neuroinflammation. Have you ever felt the way it feels when you have the flu or you have a sickness, right? You sometimes feel irritable. You can almost feel that your brain is inflamed.
Heavy here.
Heavy in your brain. For me, when I don't sleep well, if I'm stressed, it feels like there's sandpaper around my brain. I'm just irritable. I'm not a good person. And I can't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that this is the way that someone with profound depression feels every single day of their life. This is neuroinflammation. And you can see that when we have a sickness, the flu, whatever, the inflammatory cascade that happens in our human body moves to the brain. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. So what I want people to understand is that depression is fixable, just like so many of the things we've been talking about. And again, broken record, it starts with the quality of the food you eat. I have seen so many people reverse depression without medications by returning to high quality foods. It's just, this is the answer.
Jordan Peterson was eating steak. Remember when he said, I only eat steak? So he went to the only steak diet.
He was on the benzos from previously. I think he had, so Jordan and the whole Peterson family is interesting. They have a strong autoimmune predilection in the family. So Jordan had some sort of autoimmune arthropathy. Michaela had this. And Jordan was the reason I originally started thinking about diet and thought about the carnivore diet because it significantly helped him. But I think he was on these benzodiazepines from what he was suffering from before the carnivore diet.
Do we know what it was, Rob?
That Jordan had?
Yeah, to get on benzo. I don't know if he's told the story
I don't know
before.
if he has either.
Yeah, I don't know if he's told the story. And how, I do know he went to Russia to be able to deal with it.
That was for the akathisia for the withdrawal. That was part of the withdrawal. So the clear thing that I want people to understand.
Severe debilitating anxiety. The anxiety was perturbed by severe autoimmune reaction to food that caused intense physical symptoms, including insomnia and sense of impending doom. What does impending doom mean? Like doom and gloom, you think everything's going to be bad?
Yeah, you think the sky is falling. So my suspicion, he says he began 2016 to 2017. I think Michaela got him on the carnivore diet to help this.
That I remember.
And it did help it, but then he had the long-term side effects from the benzo.
Where he says on the bottom, 2019, the dosage was increased in April of 2019 following a series of family crises, most notably his wife diagnosed with a rare and terminal form of cancer.
So he stayed on it.
And then he stayed on it.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that, Jordan's diet used to be not great. He was eating the standard American diet. He was having this psychiatric manifestation of a bad diet. So we've talked about so many manifestations of poor diet in this podcast, whether it's hormonal, erectile dysfunction, depression, obesity. These things are all connected. The quality of the food we eat, I feel like this is, I've been doing this work for probably 6 or 7 years now, Pat. And this is really the main message that I've come to believe and that I want to try my best to get out there in the world, that whatever you are suffering from, you can fix this very likely or improve it significantly by improving the quality of your diet. And we started the podcast talking about GLPs. Great, they might be effective, but what are you missing? You're not fixing your diet. You get on TRT too fast, you're not fixing your diet. You gotta fix the foods you're eating and what's actually causing depression, anxiety, erectile dysfunction, testosterone to drop, obesity. You fix the root cause. Hey guys, I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Manect if you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here. You see drugs that came out that were revolutionary that we use, GLP-1 being one of them, and that came out in 2005. Then you go look at when hair transplant became a thing, and that was back in I want to say 1960s, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see this here. Yeah, so you got hair transplant 1960s, first performed in 1950 by Dr. Norman Ehrenreich. That was the first one we ever did. Breast implants since 1962, okay? First silicone implants was in 1962. Birth control pills, May 9th, 1960, FDA approved. A lot of people say that was one of the worst things that we did with birth control pills. You got Viagra's March 27th, 1998. You know, a lot of happy campers because of that one, okay? But they also say there's some side effects with that. And you got the GLP-1s, April 2005. What do you think is going to be the next big thing that hasn't happened yet?
In terms of advances?
Advances or even, you know, pleasure, quick fix. Because remember, Viagra, that was like guys were making a killing just selling that pill. When it first came out, pharmaceutical salespeople were all going to, you know, saying, hey, I want to be able to sell that product. I hear guys are making $200,000, $400,000 a year. It was such an easy product to sell to doctors. What do you think could be the next thing? Next big thing? We're becoming more vain. Social media is not going away. We want to look good. You know, we want to look sexy. We want to look appealing.
This is a tough one, Pat. I don't know here. You know, I mean, peptides and GLPs. GLPs are a peptide, but I think we've kind of already talked about this, but I think peptides and GLPs are the next big thing. So I think from GLPs, we have to say it's kind of already here is the peptides. You know, now we've got the GnRH secretagogues. We've got BPC 157. You got the other classes of peptides that people are using also. I think that's already here. That's going to happen as well. And that, just like the GLPs, has some pretty significant contingencies to think about.
But is it insecurities? Because you got guys who have hair issues and guys who don't have hair issues. And there's a massive insecurity that causes people to say, let me go fix my hair. And you can go to Turkey, do it for whatever, $4,000 to $6,000, or you can do it here for $25,000 to $30,000. The other day, my son, both of them are like, Dad, I don't know if you know or not. What's that, buddy? You're going bald here. And they take a video. They're like, look at this. I can see. I said, buddy, take that camera off my head right now. You know, they're kind of going through the whole thing. Boys are very different. They have no filters. Insecurity breast implants, right? Some people in 60s. 1962, Rob. How old was Marilyn Monroe in 1962? I wonder. What year was Marilyn Monroe born? She was born in she died in 62. Interesting. The year she died, they came out with breast implants. So maybe everybody wanted to be, you know, kind of like her. So insecurities with birth control, maybe that's more like a risk. Allow me to be reckless and have sex without having anything to worry about. Viagra, there's an element of insecurity. GLP-1s, weight.
Botox is already huge, you know?
Massive. It's a massive number, by the way, on Botox.
It's a big number, and there's some really interesting stuff with Botox. There's a clip circulating from Euphoria season 3. I don't watch this, but I saw it. Maybe we can pull it up. It's two characters. It's at one of the characters' weddings, and there's this really interesting juxtaposition of one actress has a large amount of Botox in her face, and the other actress, Sydney Sweeney, doesn't have as much Botox. And so it's a clip where Sydney Sweeney's character is at her wedding, and these two characters are arguing, and the one character with Botox on her face is saying, we paid for our kids' college fund, and you can see her getting very angry, and her face isn't moving at all. And then Sydney Sweeney says, what does that have to do with me? And you can see her furrowing her brow and the muscles of the glabellar muscles in the forehead. It's very interesting because we'll find the clip. It's out there on X for sure. It's at her wedding, you know, and the one actress. But what's interesting about this for me is
wedding Botox. See if it comes up if you type in Botox.
Is that I found a recent study, and I posted about this on X, that where you inject the Botox in your face matters. So there's some studies.
What are you watching, Rob?
There's some studies that show.
It's like the middle of the podcast, you go from Pornhub.
There's some studies that show that if you inject the frown lines with Botox, it improves depression scores. So there's something called this theory of embodied emotions, that when we feel an emotion, whether it's sadness or happiness or other emotions that I'll get to in a moment, our face moves. And our face moving with these emotions is integral to actually feeling the emotion. So if you inject the frown lines in the face, or maybe these 11s here in the middle of your face, I've never had any Botox, but I look at my face and I think, should I get this? And then I read this study. If you inject the frown lines or you inject the places in your face that are being expressed when you have negative emotions, it actually improves depression scores. But if you inject the parts of your face like the laugh lines, it worsens depression scores because you can't, the theory would be you can't express the happiness as much. And so there was a recent study that looked at that. And then it also looked at, and again, it's one study, and I think it was a small study of 36 women, but there was a significant finding that when they injected certain areas of the face, women reported less orgasm intensity because
You couldn't see if they're enjoying it or not.
well, because they can't express the enjoyment on their face when they're having the orgasm because you're paralyzing the facial muscles. So moving your face, yes, this is exactly it. So this is they use something called the sexual satisfaction score. And so they had lower orgasm intensity and enjoyment because you need to move your face to embody an emotion. It's interesting. Again, it's one study, but there's a lot of people getting Botox. And I thought that clip from Euphoria was fascinating because you can see this woman getting very angry and her face isn't moving. And as humans, as you and I are sitting across the table.
Humberto, Rob, did you guys find that clip or no?
I could not. I'll keep
Have
looking.
Humberto look for it.
Is Martin here? Martin can find it. We have it in ours. Yeah, we'll find it.
You want to just text it to Rob and we'll add to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll come back to it. As you and
It's
I
not
are,
live, so we can re-edit and add that part to it, Rob, and we can cut some of this part.
as you and I are talking to each other, I'm looking at your face. There's a complex interplay.
Mhm.
Is Pat angry? Is he sad? Is he happy? Does he like what I'm saying? Think about the bonding that goes on between a mother and a
No
child,
question.
right?
No question.
Think about the complex emotional dance that happens between two people during courtship. And think about the way that paralyzing too much of your face could affect this. Again, I'm not saying,
Comedians must hate this.
yeah,
Right? If you go to like a comedy club in like, Highland Park, Dallas, and everybody's on Botox, and you're like, are these people enjoying it or not? You just can't tell because they're not smiling.
you can't tell. And so, look, there's ways apparently, again, I've never had any Botox, but there's ways that you can do baby Botox and maybe not
Yeah,
paralyze
yeah.
it or be careful with the muscles. But, you say, what's next? And I'm thinking, well, at least what's now? Like, I just think there's a word of caution with Botox. And I know women and men want to look young. And look, I've got some lines across my forehead that I'm self-conscious about. But do I want to affect my ability to feel an emotion? And do I want to affect my ability to bond with someone, potentially my future kids? That's something to consider.
No, I mean, listen, you look at me, you can see freeways on my forehead. You see this stuff in the middle
That's
of my
important.
eye. I love it.
That's
I
important.
love it. But, it is a big business when you look at Botox. The numbers on it is staggering on how many people are using it. I think it was 85% of people that use, do we have the numbers on that with Botox, Rob? It's a very, very high number on what percentage are women and how much money is being spent in it and what we're doing with that. Yeah, right there. 85 to 94% of all Botox cosmetic procedures are performed on women, with millions receiving injections annually in the U.S., while only 1% total U.S. population gets Botox. Survey indicate up to 42% of women have had the treatment. The highest usage in among women 40 to 54, though preventative Botox is surging in those under 40.
Preventative Botox. This
What
is
is preventative Botox?
It's women in their 20s and 30s who say, I don't want to get a wrinkle, so I'm going to paralyze the muscles now. They don't have a wrinkle they're trying to get rid of. They're trying to prevent wrinkles.
Mhm.
This is, it's kind of scary, there's women in their 20s now getting Botox for sure. For sure.
That's wild.
Hey guys, I am Paul Saladino. You can find me on Manect if you have any questions about diet, health, recovering from chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I'm excited to connect with you guys all there, and I'll see you in there.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.